The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Right into this Arpaio Zulo criminal investigation case, Obama, and the Melendez case going on in Arizona, the federal case versus Sheriff Arpaio. I was just going through the emails a little bit before coming on the air, and there's a gentleman that's a regular listener. His name's Troy from the Philippines, and I appreciate him writing. He says, Carl, he said, look, I've just been panning through your most recent uploads, and I don't see an acknowledgement or discussion regarding the Mike Zulo investigations audios uploaded recently. I would appreciate your comments. Well, Troy, first of all, thanks for listening. Thank you for writing us at Freedom Friday at Net Zero, and thank you for your interest. And the bottom line is, yes, we have uploaded links to all of that at PNN. PNN News and Ministry Network, at the PNN Facebook, at Carl Gallups Facebook, and there has been discussion from the various readers, watchers, listeners, etc. But no, I have not come on Freedom Friday yet, and or recently, and made big discussion material over it. And there's a reason for it, and I'll explain that reason in just a moment. But let me just catch you up. The bottom line is this: I don't come to the radio every week and talk about this because it's too complex and there's too much speculation. And I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to be, in other words, I've been involved with this for so long. Listen, I was dealing with this stuff before Arpaio and Zulo ever even heard of it. Okay? 2007, 2008, I was on the radio. I was comparing birth certificates, and we were looking at, the typeface and all that. You remember all that, PNN. Okay, so, and I appreciate working with Arpaio and Zulo and all of, not working with them, but being involved, having them on the air, et cetera, et cetera. All right, but the bottom line is, I have promised my listeners that I'm going to be as accurate as I can, and where I do misspeak, I will make it correct. But also here in the last year or so, you'll remember Zulo has come on several times and said he was basically going to go dark, and that, if he got with me, and gave permission for me to say things, and or he came on the air and said things, that's how we would do it. Because, every time he came on the air and revealed kind of where they were at, he just took a hammering, all over the media. And we've been defending that and defending him, et cetera. But in the meantime, here's what's happened out in Arizona. And so if you've been in tune to the PNN News and Ministry Network, you know that we've been posting links to various articles, birth report, where's Obama's birth certificate, some of these sites, and they link to other sites, and I think the Arizona New Times out in Phoenix, they've been covering this profusely and interviewing Mike Zulo, or trying to. Mike took the Fifth Amendment a lot of times, which is great. But anyway, we've been providing links, posting of those articles continuously on PNN, and that's how we've been doing it, other than from time to time I would say, look, I've talked to Zulo and just the other day on the phone, and here's what he said. Okay, so that's how I've been handling it. By the way, which is what I promised Mike Zulo I would do. By the way, he didn't make me promise him that. That was my promise to him, that I'm a man of integrity, I'm a man of honesty, and I'm not going to get on the air and just speculate what Zulo might be thinking or what he might be doing. My journalistic integrity is going to be better than that. So here's what happened. Several months back, you've been watching this in the news or following it in the news, especially if you're connected to PNN. Judge Snow, federal judge out in Arizona, he alleged that Arpaio was, it's called the Melendez case. I'm trying to hurry through this, so please forgive me. But, that he wasn't enforcing the immigration laws correctly. In fact, he was breaking immigration orders and laws, etc. And, of course, Arpaio went to the court and just basically he said, okay, look, I could have done it better. You're right. Want to work with you on this. And Snow said, no, by gosh, we're going all the way with it. So it became this full-fledged court case. Well, in the middle of it, Judge Snow alleged that Arpaio had been investigating Judge Snow's wife. Now, his wife is a woman who has not denied that she was very outspoken on wanting Arpaio out of office. So you've got this whole big, this big case of where the judge really should recuse himself. But the judge refused to recuse himself. So an appeal was filed, and that appeal was denied on a motion of regarding a technicality. Okay? So, in the meantime, the trial went on. And again, Arizona New Times is reporting it, Bertha Report, and we've been linking to some of those things, or most of them. But in the meantime, the judge in the middle of this case wanted to know what this confidential informant, Dennis Montgomery, confidential informant to the Arpaio Zulu investigation, wanting to know what he was telling them and what he was working on. And Arpaio and other officers testified that, this is another investigation. This has nothing to do with the Melendez case. So then they started subpoenaing Zullo, and Zullo was taking Fifth Amendment because this went to a completely different case. But the bottom line is, finally Zullo begins to speak. Tapes are brought forward, or pieces of tapes, parts of tapes. You can hear Dennis Montgomery. You can hear other investigating officers. You can hear Mike Zullo talking on them. And we've posted links to those. And so in the meantime, once some of these tapes were released and it came out what Dennis Montgomery was alleging and what Arpaio and Zullo seemed to be uncovering, and it's all up in the legal air as to how legal it all, or how accurate it all is. But all of a sudden, very little coverage from the media on this. All of a sudden, no one really wanted to interview Zullo, apparently, after he gave his testimony. Prior to that, he had microphones in his mouth at all times, by the Arizona New Times especially, and others. So this was kind of like this agenda to get Zullo on the stand and make him spill his guts kind of backfired. So it could be, that a lot of what's coming out in these tapes and what Zullo is saying, is kind of revealing just how dark and deep and serious this is. And folks, I'm telling you, based upon the little bit that I know, and there's a whole lot about what Zullo knows that I don't know, a whole lot. But based upon the little bit that I do know, this may be a good platform for Arpaio and Zullo to get some stuff out before the world. I don't know. We'll see. But the bottom line is, there was a statement made in one headlines that the government was involved in making the birth certificate, that sheriff said that. But if you listen to the whole tape, the sheriff Arpaio was saying the Hawaii Department of Health, that government, not the U.S. government. Anyway, that was just a part of a snippet. We've got more to say about this. I've got more to say about it. We'll talk about it later. We've got to take a time out. I hear the music. But I'm not going to get on here and speculate. I'm going to wait till I hear from Mike Zullo specifically before I tell you what Mike Zullo is saying, okay? Otherwise, stay tuned to PNN, News and Ministry Network, and you can see all the links there. And here's the deal. The very last time I talked to Mike Zullo, he assured me, as has Sheriff Arpaio in the media, in the mainstream media, that the investigation on Obama is still going on. In fact, it's very deep. It's very complex. Mike's words, you've heard him use right here, it's very dark. And now, of course, we've got this whole Melendez case going on, and in the federal case against Sheriff Arpaio, and then, of course, the Judge Snow whole situation and his wife, and whether or not Arpaio and them were investigating his wife, and trying to get an appeal, get him recused because of conflict of interest, and the federal court denied the motion because of a technicality, and then, of course, Mike Zullo finally begins to testify. Begins to open up and snippets of recordings, I guess probably whole recordings perhaps they're hearing, but snippets are being released in the media of this confidential informant that supposedly used to work for the CIA, Dennis Montgomery, and you can hear Dennis talking and Zullo talking and various sheriff's office investigators talking about the birth certificate and about various things. And I mean, it's amazing stuff. And on PNN, we've been linking to it and telling people, go look at it, go read it, draw your own conclusions. And, I've had people ask me, well, why aren't you talking about it on the radio? Well, we are. We're directing people to that stuff. But my last promise that I made to Mike Zullo when I talked to him in person was, Mike, I am not going to speculate on what I read in the news. I know too much about this. Mike Shoesmith? Right. I don't know. Well, let me just finish this and then you talk. But I don't know everything, and there's a whole lot that I don't know, okay? But I do know too much about this. I've been in it for years with them for me to read media stuff, and now the complexity of the Melendez case, and for me to get on the air and pontificate and speculate. I mean, I could get people in trouble. I could hurt folks, and, maybe myself, maybe my own integrity, maybe Mike Zullo's integrity. I'm not going to do that to Mike. That's been my promise to him, and I know people have been upset that I haven't come on the air and just spouted off and reported this and reported that, but here's the deal. We provide links and articles to at the PNN News and Ministry Network, and you can keep up with it. And as soon as I talk to Mike Zullo again personally and in detail, then I'll tell you what I'm allowed to say there. Okay? I mean, by allowed, I mean legally is what I mean.
Right.
So yeah, Mike Zullo doesn't, determine my talking points, but if he says, look, here's some information, but this isn't ready to be broadcast yet, then I'm not going to. I'm going to keep my word. That's the bottom line. So that's where we are, folks. Read this stuff. If you're not connected to the PNN News and Ministry Network, then you're missing out on our news aggregate there. Mike, go ahead.
Well, I think in your insistence on keeping your word is what determines your talking point. I think if I know anything about you, and I've known you almost a decade now, we've had a ministry relationship and a pretty solid personal relationship. And when you say something, you keep it. And I think that people who know you personally appreciate that about you. Hey, look, I've been saying for years that Mike Zullo is actually a personal hero of mine. He has sacrificed a great deal to go after this abomination in the White House.
Yep.
And he's fighting against an antichrist spirit.
Yeah,
and
we've talked about that a lot.
Right, and there is audio that has been released to the public. We have posted this audio all over our material. And the audio is a recording between four gentlemen, Sheriff Arpaio, Mike Zullo, a billionaire businessman named Blacksmith. All of this is public knowledge. And when I listened to the whole thing, you can clearly hear the frustration in their voices as they talk about what's going on. And it was even there was some shocking things revealed in this audio, like someone who was scheduled to testify in the hearing was, quote, shot between the eyes.
Yeah.
People are dying over this. This is public knowledge
or
now.
At least that's what's alleged. Yeah.
Right, and so you can clearly hear the aggravation in their voices as they speak. People can go to the P.P. Simmons Facebook page for that audio, but it really is amazing, and you can hear in their voices the clear frustration. And listen, rightly so, because they're not fighting simply a president; they're fighting demons. Yeah. And I think probably demons working overtime to shut this down.
Yeah.
So now we have personal and legal attacks against Arpaio, Mike Zullo. These people are facing, they're climbing Mount Everest here.
Yeah.
And,
I agree. Which is why I'm not going to get on here and speculate and try to pretend like I'm some expert on all the inside details. I mean, I do know a lot of inside stuff, but I've given my word on what I will and will not share, and I'm not going to break that. I mean, I'm just not. So anyway, bottom line, we're going to keep reporting what we can. As soon as Mike Zullo releases something personal to me or on the air here at Freedom Friday that we can talk about, we will. Otherwise, we're just going to keep posting links and reporting what's in the news. But if you'll go listen to those tapes and read those articles, I mean, I've said this without apology, and I'm going to say it again, based upon the things I do know. You're hearing snippets of edges, parts of stuff that we've been talking about, Mike Zullo and I've been talking about for a long time right here on the air. Edges and parts of it, not all of it.
Right.
But so if you want to educate yourself, go read these articles. Listen, the folks at birthereport.com, they're doing a great job keeping up with all this. The folks at Where's Obama's Birth Certificate, they're doing a great job posting and keeping up with all of this. And then we're taking a lot of that, aggregating it to PNN News and Ministry, and we're putting links to the videos and to the articles. So folks, stay in touch and you'll know what's going on, right?
And we were not there when this was being recorded. We only know what we hear, and the audio is faint. We do not have the entire story.
Right.
So it's important that people know that. This is it. But you know what's encouraging about this, though, Carl, is that this whole thing is not dead. It is moving forward. And these people, Sheriff Arpaio, Mike Zullo, they are still fully invested in this.
Well, that's the last information I got, and also I'm going to say this. I think I said this in the first part of the show. Mike, in a roundabout way, this might be a God thing, because look what's coming out now. Look what the media, it's right in front of them, and if they're choosing to ignore it now in a federal court case, And there's the evidence laid out. There's information coming into this case. There are recordings. They're listening to Mike Zullo in recordings. And the investigator and the confidential informant and all these other people. And the media has gone silent as crickets on this. It's as though, well, this narrative doesn't fit, or this doesn't fit their agenda. This is not their narrative. And so Zullo's finally talking, in court, under oath. And the media goes, uh-oh, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that.
More media malpractice.
Are people with something to hide?